Anyone joining us? We welcome you. We're just getting the screen set up. I can hear someone coming in the phone.
Okay, so welcome everybody. This is Derry. I'm the logistical director and assistant for Linda with the Urban Voter through votergear.net. I want to welcome everybody to the call tonight. I want to acknowledge you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here, and we look forward to sharing some useful information from you, and Linda guide us through some conversations. Also introducing a guest, and Linda will guide us through the meeting. So I met Linda several months ago, and I do website design work, and she impressed me very much with her commitment to making a difference in the arena of encouraging people, educating people about our ability and right to vote in this country, and that she's standing for something and taking action inside of it. So I'm proud to have her for my friend, and without any further ado, I want to introduce everybody to Miss Linda Perkins. Take it away, Linda.
Okay. Hello. I'm hoping there are friends and family on the phone. I wanted to just let everyone know this is the second call in this effort to talk about voting, and particularly right now when it's probably should be in everyone's, as they say, wheelhouse as such, about what we need to do in the next 3 weeks or 2 weeks. It's getting so close. And one of the things that I wanted to say is that in doing that and in doing this website, and Darius, he said, has been the technical support that I desperately needed to get everything together. I wanted to let you know that I've invited people from different cities across the country in hopes that we could all get together on this phone call and be able to talk a little bit to one another. Because one of the things is that as I've gone along, I've met a lot of people, and in so doing that, I have asked people sometimes with a strange response to give me their phone number, and I've given them my card and told them a little bit about this urban voter effort that I have underway, and also that to invite others to join the call. So I know that there are a couple people in here from Virginia, Marcia, and also my friend Doris Cookie, as I call her. I'm going to go by first name. I think that there may be someone from Washington, someone from Pittsburgh, someone from North Carolina, Maryland. So these are some of the cities that I know individuals have said they're going to be on the call, and I've invited them to be a part of this call. So what I wanted to, without further ado, one of the things we were going to do, and hopefully I'll be able to do that, is that there were two people that I had asked to be on the call tonight, a young lady by the name of Ariel Adams, who is a student at Howard studying law. And unfortunately, Ariel became, she was sick. She got sick all of a sudden. So she is not able to join us on the call. And the other young lady, I'm hoping she is on the call, and I'm not sure if she is. She's from Maryland, and she is active in a campaign office. And I thought it would be interesting to hear from her because she has her actually boots on the ground about what's going on. And based on that, hopefully she would be able to give us some insight. But in any event, like most things, everything is not perfect. So based on that, what I wanted to do is not waste anybody's time. And just for a moment, if you take your phone off of mute, whoever's on the phone, and if you just say hello to all the others one at a time. Cookie, you're there? Is that correct?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And you're calling, where do you live, Cookie?
Okay, I live in Norfolk, Virginia. And, yeah.
Okay, and I think Marcia's on the phone?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Okay, and Marcia, you're also in Virginia?
Yes, I'm in the Hampton Roads area as well. Hello, Cookie. Hi there, and hello to everyone also.
Okay, and let's see, is Frances on the phone?
Yes, I'm here.
And Frances, you want to introduce you, say hello to everyone for a moment?
I'm Frances from Charlotte, North Carolina. Hello. Hi, Cookie.
Hi, Frances.
Okay. Okay, and who else do we have on the phone?
Jennifer's on the phone.
I'm sorry, this is who? Who was that? I couldn't hear the name.
Deb Pringle from Virginia.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I think we were talking at the same time. It's Meredith and Jennifer. Jennifer from Pittsburgh, I believe, and Meredith from Virginia.
Okay.
Jennifer's on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Jennifer.
I'm actually on my computer.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm on my computer on the mic.
Okay. Excellent. And Meredith?
Hi, Cookie.
Hey, Mare.
As you can see, these are obviously friends and family. There's all family for me that's on the phone, so I'm glad all of you are on the phone. But in any event...
And Tanya from Maryland, North Potomac, Maryland.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Hi, Linda. Hi, Cookie.
Hi.
Okay.
Hey, Mare.
Who else is on the phone?
Deb Pringle from Virginia Beach.
Okay. Thank you. Welcome. Glad you're on the call. Anyone else? Okay. So I think there's some others that are planning to join the call. But in any event, what I wanted to do, as I said, is to talk a little bit about this whole voting idea and just a real recap on the Urban Voter website. With the help of Derry, as I mentioned earlier, what I wanted to do with the website was to put down on the website things about voting. It was strictly about voting, not telling you who to vote for, how to vote, why you should vote for any particular person, but more so about voting itself. So for those of you that have your computers on, this first slide is saying that I consider myself an urban voter. And in that particular role as such, and many of you live in the cities and some of us live in the suburbs, each of us probably are so busy that we move around so much that we get to see a lot of people. I call it in the hustle and bustle of every day. And for me personally, it has given me many opportunities to listen to others talk about voting, to talk with people about voting, to meet people that are interested in voting, and even watch others just exchange amongst themselves about what they think about, particularly about this election. Last night, I don't know how many watched, but last night we had the last of the debate for the presidential campaign, and of course it's rated by some as who won and who didn't, and some of the things that were brought up in that particular debate. And one of the things we do know right now is that because of this 21st century lifestyle that we're all in, social media keeps everyone in the loop. So I don't need to talk about that because I know that if nothing else, if you turn on your television, you'll know everything there is about what happened last night in the debate and what's expected to happen going forward, because there's enough talking heads on the TV to fill up, to fill up the universe. So, Gary, you can go to the next slide. Gary? Okay.
You got it.
So now on this second slide, for those that can see it, there's a slide that says, use your vote, and then it says how. It says, how can each of us use our vote to help another person do the same? One thing about voting that I've learned, and when asking individuals, particularly doing voter registration, are you registered to vote? Individually, everyone always says, yes, I'm registered to vote. And that's a great thing. And then I try to extend that question out a little bit and ask, how about people in your family? Sometimes I get a really quick answer. Everyone in my family is registered to vote. Now, that could be in the immediacy of one's home, but then I attempt to extend it out even a little more and say, well, what about, other relatives that you may know about? Do you think they're all registered to vote? And that's sometimes when we get a pause. Because each of us that think about voting generally think of it as an individual act and sometimes never think of it on the basis of others that might want to join into that, into the process, if I can say that. We all know that voter registration actually ended or is all about to end in most places. Because of some of the circumstances that have happened recently, many people have had opportunities, like in North Carolina, parts of North Carolina where Francis is, and in the state of Florida in particular, both really affected by this hurricane. Their voting registration deadlines were extended, which made a lot of sense. In both cases, the opposition from the governors was that no, just to end voter registration, but some wise federal judges decided that voting is so important that that deadline should be extended. So I am glad that there are others that have had the opportunity to register to vote, and that others hopefully have encouraged another person to register and to vote. But the point of all of this is to say that is how we can actually use our vote. We can use our vote to tell someone else that they should do the same. We can even go so far as, if it's something that you're so interested in, is to get a voter registration form or registration forms and actually hand them out to individuals that you know that may not be registered, and to help those individuals to vote. Because as this little slide says, every vote counts, and also that we should also be smart about voting. So, Derry, you can go to the next slide.
Hello, I just rejoined. Hello? Can you hear me?
Who am I talking? Yeah, and this is?
This is Roxanne. I'm calling in from Pittsburgh.
Oh, hi, Roxanne. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. We were just starting our conversation about voting, Roxanne, so welcome. There are others on the line, and we are so glad that you're here, too. Okay?
Thank you. I was on earlier. My mic just wasn't working, so I had to revert to the phone. So.
Okay. So those of us that are on our computers, and I take it some of us are, Derry has moved to the next slide. There's just a couple of slides, and then we're going to open it up for conversation. But this next one says, elections where you live. Now, one of the things about politics, and there's a picture on here of a gentleman whose phrase has become so popular and so well known by so many people because of what it said. It said, all politics are local. The person that penned that phrase or stated that originally, he's deceased now, but he was Tip O'Neill, who at one time was a very, very powerful congressman when he was in office. And what he was trying to say, or what he did say there, if you drill down on that for a moment, is that all politics, we take up things on the national level, but all politics are local. That means your governor, your mayor, your school board, your police chief, your sheriff. That's how local politics are. It's nothing that's so abstract that we only have to do it 4 years. We find out because it's based on states, which is just each state sets up its own voting guidelines, which includes where you vote and what you may be voting on. What that means is that what they're voting on in Pittsburgh or in Pennsylvania right now, there may be the president is on the ballot, and in Pennsylvania, I'm familiar with, they are electing a senator, and also that's as far as I can go. Now, when it drills down further than that, from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, it gets so localized that in Pittsburgh, there may be issues that they're voting on that are relative to Pittsburgh, along with the other ones on there I mentioned. But also in Philadelphia, there may be another set of local issues, because what politics is that it brings it all the way down to the individual. So if we're voting for a dog catcher in Pittsburgh, we may be voting for a police chief in Philadelphia. So politics are very, very local, and that's something that sometimes I think gets lost, particularly as we hear all the conversation on the daily level about the presidency and perhaps the governors in some states. I'm not sure if any governors are running right now, but I know senators and congressmen are running at this particular time. And one of the things that is important for all of us is that when we go into that poll, we have to look at that ballot, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but we have to know what's on that ballot besides just pulling that lever. Because when you pull the lever, whatever you're voting for, it gets registered, and if it's something that you didn't want to vote for, but you just arbitrarily pull the lever, well, that's just the way it works, and that vote will be cast on something that you may not want. So it's important to know about that. And based on that, as I was just saying, as this slide is saying, is that other offices on the ballot may include local things such as some areas may have. Anyone know that any school board members that are running right now in their particular state or city?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone know a referendum or something that's on their local ballot they could share with us real quick as an example?
Yes, there's 2 referendums in Pennsylvania.
Okay. And they are?
One of them is the judicial retirement age. They want to keep the judges on the court till they're like 77. I can't remember all the details off the top, but it really isn't a good thing. We need to change our judges, and especially in Pennsylvania, we need to. And where I'm at is in Allegheny County, and we need some African American judges here that we don't have. So we don't want to extend that. So if anybody asks me, which people do, and I will tell them to vote no on that one.
Okay, that's very good. So that's what's happening in Pennsylvania, but that's happening. Well, that's happening in the state of Pennsylvania because this is for the whole state. Is that correct? Right.
Correct.
All right. Any other examples anyone may know of that's happening in their particular state or municipality, locality that they could share as another example?
North Carolina does have governors running this year. You see, you didn't know. McCrory, and Roy Cooper are running.
Okay.
I don't know. So yeah, we do have governors this year.
Okay, that's good because those are things, as I said, that shows you a difference between Pennsylvania that had all the states have a governor, but all governors are not are not running at the same time. Right. I think one of the reasons why that is, if we just break it down, is that when the originators of the Constitution set up this country's government or style of government, one of the things that was important was to have stability. So in order to have stability, that meant that not everyone would run at the same time. So like in the Senate right now, a group of senators are running, but not all the senators. So in various states like New Hampshire, Pennsylvania,
North Carolina,
Virginia, North Carolina, and some other states, I can't, but thank you. Those states are having races for their senators as well, but not all the states are doing that. I know California has a race going because someone retired, but the point being of that is that the Senate was never meant to be turned over all at once, so there would always be, if you will, an institutionalized portion of the Senate in place at all times. Same thing with Congress, where Congress, of course, congressmen run every 2 years. It's still on a graduated scale so that everyone is not on the ballot at the same time. Because you can imagine, if everything was turned over at the same time, that would mean there was no one there to say how things were or how they should be for the moment until a new group gets in and gets ready to take over the wheels of government. So the government, everything is staggered. That's the same thing on the state level, on the local level, the school board, everything is staggered. So politics breaks itself down that way. Okay, so I won't go on any more about that. Sarah, you want to go to the next slide? Yeah.
Linda, I know that this is bigger than any particular party, but I just received today the map of the United States with all of the 2016 key races. And there are races for the Maine Senate, the New Hampshire House and Senate, New York Senate, and West Virginia Senate, Arizona House and Senate, Colorado Senate, Nevada Senate, and New Mexico. And then there's one more, Iowa House, Michigan House, Minnesota House, Montana House and Senate, and Washington Senate.
Right,
I think those are the key races.
The key ones.
So I haven't studied the whole map. I just got it today.
Yeah, and that's very good. Because wherever we are, as I said, I know that I invited someone from Mississippi. I'm not sure if she got a chance to be on the call because of her schedule. She did make me aware of it. But there are some races that are going on down there that affects that state. The reason why all the things that you just said, Cookie, and why I sort of extended that out a little bit about that point is that that's how important it is to vote. Because these various entities of subjects and or persons are on the ballot. And they're going to be on there, and some of them are that if, for example, in Pennsylvania, that could affect things for the next 10 to 20 years. Mm-hmm. In North Carolina, that's going to affect that state for the next 4 years. So there's all these important issues that are out there. So when we stand in that line, and sometimes it seems so long, there's a reason to be there. You know, the passion that I have for this is out of a personal thing. And I remember, just real quick, I'll say this. I remember in my strongest, my daughter will say, oh, no, I didn't say this, but my strongest revolutionary days, when I was railing about the government, railing about how the country was running, and I'm telling my father this, and I'm telling him all these things, and he's listening to me. And some of you may have heard me tell this story before, but at the end of my talking, he asked me, was I registered to vote? And I said, no, I wouldn't do that. I don't do stuff like that. You know, this government, blah, blah, blah. And a man of few words, someone's phone, if you could put it on mute, please. A man of very few words, he just stood up and quietly said, well, then you don't have anything to say. And the way he said it and dismissed me with that kind of dismissal that you're running your mouth, but you're not voting, so that means you don't have anything to say about what this country's like, was the thing that was the impetus for me. And I was, I think, 18 or 19 at that time. And so from that day on, I had promised myself that if nothing else, to gain his respect, that I would always vote. So I believe that's where my personal passion comes from. So I just wanted to share that really quickly. But
good evening.
I can hear an echo somewhere.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Oh, good evening. Oh, hi. Yeah, is that Sabu?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you for joining the call. We were just talking about the things related to voting. And this next slide that I have up, does anyone hear an echo on their phone?
Yes.
Someone's phone is on speaker. Oh, you need to mute it because it's echoing. All right. Okay. So I'll go on from there. So again, as I was talking about earlier, I was talking about, did you read the ballot? Because that's one of the things that we have to understand is how important it is that when we go into that voting booth, and by the way, that's all different now. You know, like most things are becoming digitized. As such, ballots are doing the same. The same thing is happening there. For ballots now, you make a mark. You know, fill in the circle all the way. The instructions are with the pencil. Make sure you fill it in completely. We then take our ballot after that and take it to somewhere where it's entered into a machine, and that machine then registers our vote. The old-fashioned way that some of us may remember from years and years ago is that we went in and we actually pulled down levers, and those levers all registered your vote to say how you were going to vote. But times are changing, and that's why it's important that when you're circling everything, that we take enough time. I know personally that I've had to look my ballot over again because there were a couple things that I missed just going down it too quickly. So I encourage each of you and to share with others in your family and friends and others that you may be talking about that are going to vote, is to just take enough time to read the ballot, you know, and make sure that you've marked everything that you want to mark it and how you want to mark it. Okay? Jerry, you can go to the next slide. Gary? Hello? Okay. Now, and as I was saying earlier, every election counts. We are all so focused right now, as we should be, on the presidential election and some of the other issues that we're talking about. But there will be another important election in 2 years wherever you live, and that's going to be to elect members of Congress. Now, quickly, and I'm not saying this in the context that no one doesn't understand it, but so that we'll all be at least generally in the same space. The three houses of government. There's the president, with the powers that that president can execute to send someone to war, to make some executive decisions, to put things in place. But one of the most important houses is the Congress, because the Congress, as the Constitution has it, is constituted to hold the purse strings. So any monies that get allotted for anything, there's a lot of debate that, depending on how you feel about the Affordable Care Act, that was a very, very difficult act or bill to come into law, now known as Obamacare by most people, affectionately or not. But the importance of that, using that as an example, is that if the money from Congress were not there to start that system of the Affordable Care Act, we wouldn't have that today. We would not have Obamacare. So when we elect someone to go to Congress, that is the person really is very, very critical, because that person decides whether something goes forward or not to be paid for. I'm making it that simple. There's other things. There's a lot more, and I know a lot of you know a lot more about it than I do, but that's one of the important roles of Congress. The Senate, on the other hand, has a key role, and one of its most important functions is that the Senate votes on who, through advising consent, sits on the Supreme Court. We're hearing all this talk about the Supreme Court. We know that Justice Scalia died. The court is split 4-4, meaning that there are 4 that lean sort of liberal, and there are 4 that are, if I can say it this way, are definitely conservative. So the court is in this balance thing. And of course, the tiebreaker is the seat that Scalia held that has now been open for so long. Real quick, President Obama has nominated someone, and his name has been in nomination now for 6 or 7 months, and the Senate, whose responsibility it is holding it. They put a freeze on it based on the majority in the Senate, which are Republicans in this case. So they froze that nomination. So the Senate has a very, very important role, along with policy, is to decide who is going to be on the Supreme Court. And again, based on the roles, literally the roles that each of these branches of government have, that's why that election is so important. On the local level, when we vote for judges are sitting on the bench and can make decisions about sentencing, about guidelines on rights that people have, because when we vote, we're voting for them too. So every election, every time someone runs, anything when the government or the local government sets it up, that election is that important. So it's the local, state, or national. They are all things that we should all begin to, and I'm sure everyone maybe on this phone already does that, and likely do. But remember to vote in every election. That's if I can just emphasize that, every time. And my little phrase that I use is that I will vote for a dog catcher if that's on the ballot. So whatever that election is, whenever it is, it's important that we all do that. And that's how we then become, as the term is in campaign language, super voters. The voters that all candidates know that if they talk to no one else, if they get to no one else, they want to get to the super voters, because those are the individuals that vote in every election. And in our respective houses of where our records are held about voting, that's broken down that way. So the candidates can go and say, I want the listing of all those that vote in every election. That listing can be broken down that way, and that's generally where a lot of concentration happens, because if no one else, the super voters are going to vote. They can be Democrats, they can be Republicans, and they can be, of course, independents that are now coming in the floor to have their own right. I mean, they're a deciding group, if you will. So please remember that if you vote all the time, and we talked about that in the last call, you consider yourself proudly a super voter, okay? So that's what I wanted to say about that. Now going to the next slide, Barry. And again, as I was just saying, that's where we all get our bragging rights. I know personally I brag about it. That yes, I'm a super voter, and I'm very, very proud of that. And I'm proud that I can say I know that in my family there are some super voters. I'm hoping all will become that, but I know there are definitely some that are in my family, and how proud I am to be able to say that when I talk to people about my family's votes, because in my own personal experiences, I remember my family coming back from the polls and having conversations about who they saw at the polls while they were standing in line and the kind of conversations they had. So that's something that we should all feel proud about, that we do vote. We hear there's so much conversation out there in the House, particularly about the group, the young millennials, and why they won't vote and why they don't think it's important. And that conversation gets pushed up against those, many of us, particularly African Americans, that know how it was a struggle to get the right to vote. And it was a struggle. It was nothing that was given. It was a struggle. Power conceived nothing without a demand, and many demands had to go forward for people to get the right to vote. So some of us, out of that tradition, come out of, if nothing else, I'm voting because somebody made a way for me to vote. But right now, in this time that we live in, many people just don't think that their vote counts. But there is not a vote in the world that doesn't count. Mrs. Obama, speaking recently in Charlotte, North Carolina, she shared with a group of people that she broke it down to in North Carolina how just by a few votes accumulated in every one of the precincts was the way that President Obama won. In some precincts, it was as little as 20 votes or 13 votes or whatever. But the cumulative effect of all those votes made the difference for President Obama to win the state of North Carolina, which was critical for him to become the president. So that's just an example of the importance of having everyone understand how much their vote means to the election, how we should now, if nothing else, just remember we have to tell our family and friends to vote. I'm hoping that we all get a chance in the near future to even just list that. I'm going to ask the people to post that, if I can get this together, on my Facebook page or the Facebook page for Urban Voter, just so we can know whose family went out there and decided to vote. So I'll stop there and take a breath and give some others that may have some thoughts about voting and wanting to share with us their thoughts and feelings about why they vote and what they may be doing to tell others. The forum is open for that. Okay? Anyone want to talk for a moment about that, about voting?
I would like to talk for a moment about voting. This is Roxanne out of Pittsburgh. So one of the things I'm talking with people about is something you brought up, which I think is critical in this voting cycle, and that is the down ballot, what they call the down ballot. That's the Senate seats and congressional seats that are up for this term.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Whatever president goes in after President Obama can have the same challenges that he had, probably not as bad because his, I think, were very unique to him. But if we don't get people in there that will help him get bills passed through Congress and through the Senate, then we'll continue with this struggle that we've been having getting anything done and the obstructionists that we've been watching for the last 8 years. So the thing that I'm talking to people about in Pennsylvania that is critical are the down ballots. We have the people that are running here for Congress. I'm suggesting to people, I don't necessarily vote one way. I vote for people who I believe have my people's interest, my community's interest in heart. So I vote according to how, what you're presenting to me, or how, if you're already an elected official, what your voting record is. Because you can go online and see how your elected officials vote. And I believe in holding them accountable. And So if you go online, you can see how they voted, and if they have your interests at heart, you may want to vote for them or you may want to try somebody new. But what we have to do is make sure that we vote according to getting more people. I'm sorry, but I don't know how partisan this conversation is, but I'm voting for Hillary Clinton. So to me, putting other people in that position to help her, such as voting for the Supreme Court justice that should have been voted on already, that they haven't. So those kind of things, the president needs our help with those seats.
Right.
Those are what help the president to get the job done. So I am asking people here, which is something I don't usually do. I work in politics, so I talk to a lot of people across the state of Pennsylvania. And I'm asking people to consider voting straight Democrat, because when you vote straight Democrat, you're going to hit every seat on the down ballot. You don't have to pick and choose.
Okay.
I usually go in and pick and choose. I might vote Republican, I might vote Democrat. It depends on who the person is and what their record is. But this year, in order to help the president get the seats in the Senate and Congress that they need, I'm asking people to consider voting straight Democrat. Then that way, all the seats get picked that need to go in.
Okay. Thanks, Roxanne. Anyone else want to share anything with us?
Hi, Linda. This is Marcia.
Okay.
I'm in Virginia. Of course, I'm going to underscore or talk about the voting. I know various individuals who are registered to vote. However, they often say that they will not vote because popular votes don't count. And they're refusing to go out there with weeks away, with the election being weeks away. How can I convince them even more to get out there and vote, that their votes actually do count?
Now, what you touched on is the interesting part. If I hear you say the popular vote doesn't count,
Right.
that's because the country was set up with what's called an electoral college. We all hear what there's an electoral college, but what is it? These are individuals that have run in their respective states, and they come from each of the major parties in particular, and they have pledged that based on the popular vote. Okay. Based on the popular vote in their area or state, that's how they will then act on behalf of everyone to cast their electoral vote. Okay? So there is a direct relationship with the popular vote and the electoral college. That's the base premise of it. You know, you can break it down all the other ways, but that is the base purpose of the electoral college. And based on how the country is set up and how many electoral votes are given per state, they're not equally distributed. It's distributed on populations and census records and all those kinds of things. Then those persons that are in that electoral college, collectively, any candidate, particularly for the president, specifically for the president, has to get 270 of those. So the popular vote does impact how the electoral vote goes.
Okay.
What we have to understand is that there's so much out there. There's so many things, because none of us know it all. Because, I mean, this is like, I wish I had the opportunity to have a politics school. I'd have people do civics, but, that's just me. Okay, anyone else want to share something with us? All right, let me tease this out. I know, at least I know, there's one person on the phone that's an independent, and independence, as I mentioned, says that they are not aligned with any particular party. And one of the things that stops an independent in primaries is that if you are not with a particular party, then you cannot vote in a primary election. So, for example, on the Republican side, when the candidate is now the candidate for president, ran against 17 other people, right? The only people that could vote in the primaries for any of those individuals had to be registered prior to that as a Republican. Even if in some states, let me qualify that a little bit. In some states, they have what they call open primaries, which allow anyone to vote. But in most states, it's closed primaries, where if you're registered as a Democrat, you vote for a Democrat in the primary, and whatever candidate wins ultimately becomes the candidate of the party. But when you get to the general election, which we're in now, it's almost a simple example. If there were 48 in one group and 49 in another group, the Republicans had 48 and the Democrats had 49. Well, the independents, that's that gap vote, whatever they vote can make a crucial decision on who wins. So I know there's an independent on the phone. I'm not calling anybody out, but I do believe that person is still an independent. Is that correct? Independent?
I had to convert over to the Democratic Party in order to vote at the last election. President Obama, so I'm trying to get back to the independent thing.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, that's what you had to do. And you live in where do you live? So, where do you live?
I'm in D.C.
Washington, D.C.? Okay. So you had to convert from an independent.
Yeah, I had to convert, in order to get a chance to keep my record that I've had since I've been 18 years old, voting from Baltimore to D.C. to keep it straight. I didn't want any break. I didn't have any break.
Right.
Since I've been about 18 years old in Baltimore, and I'm in D.C. So I've never missed elections that I know of, whatever jurisdiction I'm in.
Okay. So, but that's the unique. I'm sorry?
No, I said, and that's also extraordinary for somebody that's Muslim, because they're not doing too good on that themselves. So.
Okay, so that's something that's being talked about.
That's a cultural
these days.
Well, that's a cultural thing. That's cultural.
Okay.
So I believe, some things culturally. So I understood that in this country, what we had to go through to get that. So that would be stupid for religious reasons to stop that.
Right.
That was my viewpoint.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wanted to share anything with us? I can hear some echoes. Well, hello? Did someone want to offer something else for me?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me now? It's Cookie.
I can.
Okay. Just 3 quick comments. First of all, thank you so much, Linda. This is so informative, and it's very helpful for me. I can't hear that echo.
Somebody, if you just mute your phone, please, everyone. If you're not talking, just mute your phone. Okay.
Okay, there you go. Well, just 3 quick things. First of all, I have a lot of nieces and nephews who are independent, and they are purposely reserving their vote for November so that they can make the impact that they want to make. And, it comes with the price of not being able to vote in certain primaries, but they're aware of that. But there's that great number of independents who are going to make this particular election, come straight down to the wire. And I think we need to do more to get to the millennium, and many of them are independent. The second thing for me, I needed to be very strategic this time around because I wanted to make sure that a certain party that I'm affiliated with had a platform that was more liberal. And so in order to do that, I wanted to be strategic. And so I voted for an individual with the understanding that that individual would bring pressure to the platform, which occurred. And so the platform is a lot more liberal this year. But the point that you're making, we really have to understand how to use our vote and also how to leverage it. And when so many people die to allow women and minorities to vote, it's incumbent upon us to do our own research and make sure that how we're using our vote is effective in accordance with our belief system. And then the final thing is, I actually feel that we need to put our money where our mouth is, and put our energy where our mouth is. And so I spent time on the phone bank for my party, not because I had the time, really, but because I just think I didn't want to go through this election and not feel that I did something personal, you know, something, not just vote, but and not just encourage others to vote, but I really felt that this election is so critical to our future that I needed to do something to say historically that, yeah, I actually tried to make a contribution. And I think that my concern is that as mature folks, I mean, I'm 70, I need to know, how can I help young people understand how important the vote is? What kind of organizations can we start? Where can we go to plug in to help more young people grow up understanding how important the vote is?
Right. That's very good, and that leads us into a long conversation that we could have about that. When I had mentioned earlier about, if I can respond to you quickly on some of those points, is that, number one, I'm glad that you did something for your particular party. Some of us have done that, you know, it's just a couple hours doing a phone bank, door knocking, whatever it could be, you know, to take it an extra step, which is excellent. But when we're talking about the millennials, as they're defined as a collective group, and the millennials, by the way, let's see, that group starts from age, is it 18
to 34?
34, yeah, that's the frame for them generally, 18 to 34. When you get our ages, that seems sort of young, but that's their frame. And what it means, of course, is as millennials, is saying that what it suggests, this is a new millennium. So these young people have come of age in this new millennium. Now, of course, one of the things that happens is that history and the past, sometimes, unless it's told over and over, like in African countries or African culture of a griot or someone that carries the story on, history sometimes gets forgotten or history gets distorted. So in conversations that I've heard from, particularly when Bernie Sanders became very prominent and had the fervor of this 70-plus-year-old man, had the attention of people that were young enough to be his grandchildren, then that in itself was phenomenal. And, of course, that meant that they were engaged, as prior to that, when you hear people use the phrase the Obama coalition, which was, of course, a coalition of whites, blacks, Latinos, Asians, young, old, that came together and put their belief in their vote behind President Obama. Well, here we are now in a change election, literally using that word again, a really changed election where President Obama has, by constitutional limits, has served out his term, and we have to move forward. Millennials, many have felt that from what they see, generally within their spheres of friends and influence, that nothing has changed. Then we hear that on the opposite side, people are saying their lives are no better and that they are stuck, the economy is this, all these things everyone is saying. Some, that's why they will vote, and a lot says that's why they won't vote, particularly young people, because generally they're saying it won't make any difference. It doesn't matter, and I'm going to hold back my vote. What I tend to say to young people when they say that is that, number one, even though you don't vote, personally, you are voting. And it's like, that's a misnomer. That's something that messes with your head. How can it be a vote when I'm not voting? Yeah, you're voting. Except someone else is carrying your vote. So if you didn't want John Doe doll catcher in there, but you didn't vote, and somebody wanted John Doe doll catcher in there, and they voted, who do you think is going to be the doll catcher? It's going to be John Doe. So your vote that you held back, saying, I'm not getting involved in that, my vote doesn't count, allows the other vote to count. So the only way that people in these times can understand what their vote is like, because it does seem small. I mean, we're talking about your little vote. You know, what's a little vote? They don't know whether I went to the polls or not. Not individually maybe, but collectively, it makes all the difference in the world. Now, talking like this to young people, that's a lot to tell them to get their ear, because I'm not saying it in the up-to-the-minute language. You know, I'm an older person talking or something like that. But what we have to try and say to young people is that, as I said about history, many of them don't even know that someone was bitten by a dog in the African-American community in the South and was beaten up because if they wanted to register to vote. They don't even know about the John Pettis Bridge. They don't know that John Lewis had his brains almost knocked out of his head. They don't know the history. So if you don't know the history, then the history means nothing to you. So how does it come together to say, Linda, the point is, how do you get them to the poll? The only way we can do it is that we keep talking about it. See, when this election is over, for the most part, most people, if it's not their passion or interest, they're going to go back to their everyday lives. They cast their vote, they went home, they did their civic duty. That's what most people are going to do. Because I've got to understand it, and this has been the longest election in the world because it's been going on for almost 2 years of campaigning. But there has to be some way, and that's my little part that I want to do. This is not my last call. This is not my last effort. It says in some small way that you keep the subject alive, keep the talk going about voting. And that's what I'm hoping to do, and I'm hoping that some of you will join me. We don't need another organization. We don't need a leader. We don't need somebody to tell us, because everybody knows how this all works. But we do need to have the conversation. And that's one of the ways I think that it still drills down. Black Lives Matter movement got started with people talking, and they took action. The same thing is with voting, that we should keep talking about it and talking about it. Certainly there are those that we won't get this time, but, you know, in the spirit of Jesse Jackson, keep hope alive, we got to keep at it and do it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. So that's all I can say to that. I wish I had the magic bullet, because I know some party would want me to give it to them and say, oh, I got all the millennials to vote. But that's not being realistic. But we have to talk about voting. We have to let somebody know we voted. We have to ask somebody, did they vote? We have to challenge someone when they say, no, I don't get involved in that kind of thing. I've had people walk away from me. They say, oh, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm not getting involved. I don't care. It means nothing to me. It's not going to affect my life. You know, all of that. I mean, I've gone mid-sentence and they just walk away. But I keep on talking anyway, so somebody hears me. And every once in a while, my proudest moment this year, on National Voter Registration Day, I was able to register 5 young men. That was like, wow. You know, the numbers seem small, but if you've done voter registration, you know, that's pretty good for a day's yield. And just to think that those young men have been registered, and I got the information that I'm going to call them and remind them, you registered. There's another part to that sentence. And vote. Okay? So that's all I can say. I'll get off my soapbox. I know you hear me, Meredith. I'm stopping. Okay. Anyone else?
This is Jennifer.
Hi,
this is Jennifer in Pittsburgh. Can you hear me?
This is who?
Hi, Jennifer.
Jennifer in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
Hi. Okay, I'm talking to my mic. I'm talking to my mic on my computer, so I hope you all can hear me. In Pittsburgh, especially in Homewood Brushton, we've had a lot of movement in registering to vote and talking to a lot of young people. This is the first time I've ever seen so much going on. But you've encouraged me to get involved, because I haven't been, except in my building I live. I live in a building where there are 100 apartments, and it's right on the cusp of between Homewood and East Liberty. So I'm in Silver Lake Commons. And we have always been the prima donnas in the, how can I say, senior buildings, okay? Sorry, but we are kind of prima donnas down here, okay? And we do a lot of promoting things. So next week we're having a flea market, and I think I'm going to take that opportunity to really push the voting situation, because we've invited all the senior buildings to come to our building, okay? But also, I'm pretty active. I'm active. I go swimming at LA Fitness. I'm in the Planet Fitness. I'm in the gym. I really do see a lot of young millennials. So I think I'm going to get involved in talking to some of them and making sure that my nieces and nephews who are the millenniums, that they're voting. Okay?
Right.
So I appreciate you, Linda, because I didn't know what this web Nassar was going to really be about, but I did learn some things, and I'm going to use what I learned tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I hope everyone will have a chance. You know, there's so many websites out there, and we have so little time. But what Derry helped me to do was to put on this website things that would be, I guess, something you could learn about voting. So there are links at the top of the web page, you know, like being a super voter, what votes do. Each one of those links all the way down to having even a little short video fest about voting with these different videos, just short clips talk about voting. So when you get a chance and when you have a little downtime, everyone, I'm just asking you to share this with others, the website, because this is not personal, okay? So this is not like personal notoriety. That's not the goal. The idea is that this is how those of us that went to Westinghouse High School, where our motto when my class graduated was, Large Oaks.
Westinghouse? Hello?
Yeah.
Youth and opportunity. Youth and opportunity.
Yeah, but our motto for our class was, large oaks from little acorns grow. So this is one of those little acorns that I'm hoping will grow by the help of everyone just telling someone they know. Our own personal spheres of influence of just saying, you know, there's this website, check it out when you get a minute. It's called Voter, go to votergear.net. And that's the purpose, just so that people can talk about voting.
Linda, the main thing that folks can do if they'd like to help motivate this program is to go to the website and like this Facebook page right here. You just click that button. Right. And then you want to click on this share button up here and share it with your extended network on Facebook. And then ask people to come back and like the page. Because every time someone likes this page, whenever Linda puts a new posting in here, it'll go out to everybody on this list. So this is something that over time, audience, and we can really impact a lot of people in the world. In internet land, the most visited website in the world is Google. The second most visited website in the world is YouTube. And the third most visited website in the world is Facebook. So if you can help us to get a lot of likes in here, we can really reach out, and very powerfully, we can reach thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And if we do this consistently, what kind of a difference can that make in the next year, in the next 2 years, in the next 4 years? So I just wanted to throw that in there, Linda.
Well, thank you, because that just shows my limits, and that's why I'm glad Derry's with me. Right, Facebook page. That world is a little different, harder for me. But yeah, okay. So please do is get I could not repeat it, but, that's what I hope we do with the Facebook. And that's good. Thank you.
Like it and share it. Like it and share it.
And share it. Okay.
Yeah.
Like it.
You need to put that. You need to put that. You should. Your new slogan should be, "I'm a super voter. Like it and share it."
Okay. Oh, okay. That's good. That's good. Okay. Excellent. Thanks.
Okay.
Well, listen, everyone, we've been on here for an hour, and that was the intent to be no longer than that. And I have really enjoyed. I don't want to just say hearing me talk, but hearing others talk, and I do mean that. And thank you for taking the time out to talk, because we're going to have another one. It'll be sometime later, and I'll make sure I send a notice out to everyone, and hopefully you can pencil in your busy schedule. Many people I talk to, of course, we're all busy, so there's no good day anytime. We just have to just pick a day and hope that we can, all talk on that particular day. So, again, I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I enjoyed this a lot. It's nice to see that there are other people out there that they do take it to heart. It is a personal venture in that you want to help others. It's not, like you said, it's not to make yourself anything, but it is to help others. So that's really nice. Thank you all.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone, and you're welcome. And I'm glad that all of us that know each other on this phone too have heard each other's voices. We don't get to do that often, so that's another good plus for this call too. So again, if you want to, my email address is urbanize1221@gmail.com. Urbanize, the word urbanize 1221@gmail.com. And you can send an email, and we can some topics we can suggest for the future. And certainly, what I'm hoping to do is to start having some of us in different cities take over the call and talk about what's going on and just lead a discussion on some things. So that's the goal moving forward. But again, it's 9 o'clock or a little after, and I certainly have appreciated your time. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.
And of course, November the 8th. Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
All right.
Thank you, Linda.
All right.
You rock.
Okay.
Bye.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Go Green Bay.